Hello Tristan, thank you for watching my video. My name is Diana. As you can see in the video, my horse panics when another horse is approaching him. This time he turns out running off and bucking, but normally he just turns around and run off or something like that. Normally I just can stop him, but unfortunately yesterday I fell off really hard. I also start with the TRT groundwork and also know the movement, like moving on the hind leg, but it went so fast so I couldn't get anything done or something like this. So my problem is how do you make him more confident? It was also an environment more horses were a little bit stressed out. I think he's really sensitive to the other horses when they are stressing. So his reaction is then more panicking. Sometimes I just don't have any problems at all and can just ride in club lessons with other horses. But yesterday it was really really hard panic. So I hope you can help me. Thank you.
So Diana, I see, you had quite a fall. It was quite an acrobatic somersault in the air, hitting the ground hard, not a nice experience. From actually seeing the video in the beginning, I could already see from a distance. In the beginning, there was quite a few horses in the arena, so we were not sure what was about to happen and which horse we were looking at. But then after a moment, I could see the tension pattern in your horse's body, and I could pick what the next action was going to be. So of course, sometimes this may feel for you in that particular moment, you don't know where it's coming from, but there is a tension pattern that lives in your horse all of the time. And during your description and your story, of course, you spoke about that normally he's running off, and then this time he really bucked. So the obviously gives me some information that has happened more often. And that's, of course, a sign to you that this tension is living in the body all of the time. And the other periods where he got a little bit insecure from other horses was the signal. You need to go in and find where the insecurity lies and replace that with some good information and some good skills so he can be confident to know what to do with himself in the presence of that kind of energy, whether that be energy of movement, energy of sound, energy of approach, and what he has to do, what's his body doing in the moment of that. So it's not about learning the right TRT pattern, that in that moment you have the safety button. It's not the being able to save yourself in a panic moment. It's about the prevention. It's about finding out what's in your horse's body that gets him to that state. So you don't have to prevent it. You don't have to cure it. You can prevent it before it even happens. And a horse that, of course, sometimes it can be difficult to think, well, sometimes he's really good with other horses and, he can ride in a group and it's no problem. And then other times, like you explained now, there was horses with a little bit more energy in a big space, and the weather might change, or he had a little bit more energy that day, and that's going to negatively affect or impact his management system, the nervous system, of being able to control himself in an environment with a certain level of pressure. But of course, we don't want to just sort of getting used to certain levels of pressure and the threshold rises because he can handle or cope with the pressure, but we want him to not feel any pressure. We want him to be able to feel totally comfortable in all of those environments. And so just focusing on the tools is, of course, just focusing on moving the hind legs and things like that, you're already just sort of in a survival state and hoping you can shut it down quick enough, which might save you in certain situations, but you actually have to go in on the ground and find out exactly where the tension lies and really find out how he is managing himself in the presence of things that are approaching him. And you set up a framework step by step. So first feeling where the tension is. Tension release program is very important. So being able to feel the body, and feel where the tension is, and teach him that when he focuses on himself and he feels the tension, he can change that physical reaction. So that already feels like he's not being a slave to the circulation of tension and energy in his body, but he can change it. And knowing that he can change it already starts to decrease this insecurity, this anxiety that he holds all of the time, 24 hours a day, and it spikes when he's, pushed over the top, or he's in a situation where the previous memory, experience, and emotion to the last event where he got scared starts to play as a highlight reel in his head again. And so you want to be able to let him feel that change, which will bring a lot of confidence. You then, of course, want to be able to go through the foundational guidance patterns, but not as a survival mechanism, an ejector seat or a panic button to be able to get things quickly under control again, but to be able to create a good order of movement in the body, that he stays in contact with his physiology, and that you can feel through the foundational guidance patterns where the blockages may be and where he disconnects in the body, because they will be there even in a calm state. And when you can rebuild symmetry and a good connection in the body, then in moments where there is tension, he still feels himself. And now when he's in an environment where the pressures within that environment start to test him, he starts to be having an out-of-body experience. He's no longer connected to his physiology. He gets very much in his head, and then he gets into a flight state, and then the flight reaction, of course, causes the run. And then, of course, over time, it escalates more and more. It first turns to running, then he gets tighter in the back, and then you get another undesired behavior, and it could have been one of many. He could have bucked, he could have, like he did, he could have reared, it could be running flat out faster that you couldn't stop him at all. It can be any one of these things. And so once you start to find these patterns in the body that allow him to feel good connection and good symmetry, he feels this connection with his physiology and doesn't lose the connection with the physiology, which is the part where you go into a flight state. And then, of course, you have to deal with the elements that he's experiencing in the environment, from the weather, the wind, the noise, the movement, the approach of another horse. And you can do that with the tools. So really going into finding out very simply in the moment of approach, what's he doing in the body? And when he reacts or he has a contraction away from, let's say, the bag stick, then he doesn't know what to do. And then it's about filling in the information. Approach with the bag, he moves a little bit away. You take the bag away and you re-guide the body into a positive step, a leaning forward, not a contracting away. And so you teach the body a different physical reaction in the presence of that element of approach. And that element also exists in someone approaching you with carrying an umbrella, or someone approaching you with a dog, or someone approaching you with a bicycle, or a horse approaching you, or two horses approaching you. And so you're really dealing with that element that he doesn't yet have the information of knowing how to deal with in his body. And then you can start to do the simulation of the horse-shy course, where you create the patterns with the newfound information, the new toolkit of him knowing what to do in the presence of something that's approaching him. And you start to make forms and shapes. So you simulate, and you have a simulation of a situation that you're in control of, and you're explaining to him, if this happens again, you turn and you be the chaser, not being chased, because at the moment he, of course, feels chased while he runs away. And then you teach him that physical action, and you teach yourself, what is the thing I need to do in order to give him the confidence that he can make the right decision. Not that we can do something fast to get him into control, because you never have the time quick enough to get things under control in that situation. So you want to be in a preventative state and guiding in a mentor position to help him to make the right decisions himself. That empowers him. He feels confident about knowing what to do. The uncertainty, the not knowing what to do, is of course causing the flight reaction that you're experiencing now. So going through this process really teaches him what he needs to do with himself. And it's a preventative, and not that you are getting in a situation where you have to know how to stop it in the moment, because then it's too late, as you've experienced.